What is up, you guys? Welcome to the Sweet to the Soul podcast. It's your host, Nevaeh Galan, and today we will be talking about the healthiest way to get through a breakup. And let's be honest, we've all been through breakups or are going to go through a breakup. It's inevitable. And me personally, I have gone through 2 breakups, and let me tell you, they were both completely different breakups. I handled them both in 2 completely different ways. One was a more toxic way of handling the breakup, while the other one, I felt I did it in a more healthier way and probably the healthiest way I could think of dealing with it at the time. So just a little background on my relationships. So my first relationship, I was very young. I'm pretty sure I was 15. And now looking back, I did not do this relationship correctly at all. So at the time, I knew that my parents would not approve of me dating. But at the time, I was just getting into high school, and I don't know why that's a normal age for everyone to seek out relationships, but that's just how it was. And I wanted a boyfriend. So that's my red flag number 1 looking back. You should never seek out a relationship. God will provide you a relationship at the right timing when you are ready. So I decided to date this person, and my parents did not find out until about 2 months after we had been dating. Nevaeh, what were you doing? So, like I said, we were young. It was my first relationship, and I did not have standards for myself, and I also didn't know what I wanted in a partner. Our relationship, it ended mainly just because we weren't a right fit. There was sexual immorality involved, and that, again, looking back, those are all red flags that this relationship is not going to last. And at that time, although I did know God and although I was going to church, was reading my Bible, the relationship itself did not have God at its center. So that, again, red flag. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it in this episode. That is why the relationship is never going to work out. So when it comes to how I dealt with the breakup, I thought it was the end of the world. Literally, your first breakup, you always are going to think that. And I'm here to tell you that it is not, because I'm still breathing to this day. And if I could go back and tell my 15-year-old self crying in my bedroom, I promise you that you are going to be okay. So I thought the only way to deal with that breakup was to isolate myself completely. I shut down from friends and family, and I just didn't want to discuss anything. And let me tell you, that is the most unhealthiest way to deal with a breakup. At the time, I thought that I was alone. I thought that nobody understood what I was going through, but that is not the case. Any type of advice that you can get from somebody who has wisdom and who has gone through what you are going through is helpful, I promise you. And another way I dealt with it was I tried to find distractions in other things. I tried talking to other guys. I overloaded myself with schoolwork. I got into dancing and cheering. And while some of those ways are good ways to cope with the breakup, an excessive amount of that will just drain you, and it's distracting you from how you're supposed to feel after a breakup. So that leads me to my first tip on how to deal with the breakup. Do not isolate yourself. And I know the difference of how a breakup feels when you isolate yourself versus when you don't. Because like I said, in that first relationship, I isolated myself completely. Whereas in my most recent breakup, which was my second breakup, I did not isolate myself at all. And part of that was because I physically couldn't. So when I had broken up with this person, I was just starting off in college. I believe I was week 3, freshman year, fall semester. And when I had broken up with this person, I remember walking into my dorm room where my roommate was. And as soon as I got into that room, I was just crying, sobbing, like ugly, ugly crying. Like you do not want to relive that. And then here's my roommate not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say because I had to express what was going on. So I physically could not shut her out. I told her what happened. I told her why we broke up, and she was there for me from that single moment on until this very day. And at the time, my grades were actually struggling. They were not where I needed them to be, and they were not where I knew that they could be. So what I did was I focused all of my time and energy into getting better grades. And that leads me to my next tip. Find something to put all of your energy into. Whether it's doing what I did and focusing on schoolwork and getting better grades, or if it's going to the gym, reading, going to work, Find anything where you can focus all of your time into that is a positive distraction. So like I said, in my first breakup, I found distractions in dancing and in cheer, and those are good distractions. That's something that I was passionate about. So always make sure it's something you're passionate about. But what you don't want to do is do what I did in my first breakup, where I found distractions in other men. You do not want to do that. Don't find distractions in other people, because that's only going to hinder your healing process. And at the end of the day, it's going to make you feel 10 times worse. You want to find something that wakes you up in the morning, that makes you want to get out of bed. And now looking back at it, I'm really glad that my breakup happened while I was in college, because I physically had to get up and go to class. I had to interact with other people and with my professors. So now looking back on it, I knew that breaking up in college, although it sucks because you're not at home with your family where you're comfortable, it definitely helped me push the healing process forward. And that leads me to my next tip: be emotional. Whether it's crying, screaming, or any other way that you express your emotions, I'm telling you, you need to do it. Do not let the world say, oh, because I'm a man, I can't cry. No, you have emotions. Every human being has emotions. You need to let them out. Even if this means that you do not get out of bed for a day and you just cry and you have popcorn, have ice cream, go on Netflix, that's okay. Give yourself that time to do it, because that is part of the healing process. Hiding your feelings will not make the pain go away. It will only prolong it. So distracting yourself in drugs, alcohol, other people, that is not the way to go. You're going to do that for a little bit, and all it's going to do is provide you with temporary satisfaction. But guess what? Those things are all going to go away. And when those things do go away, all you're going to be left with are your emotions that you should have felt after the breakup. My next tip for you guys is to completely walk away from the relationship. Trust me, I know it's easier said than done, but once the breakup has happened, you need to cut off communication. I know how I am after a breakup, and I would constantly be checking up on this person, seeing how they're doing, seeing what they're posting about. So the easiest way for me to cut off communication was to block this person completely on all social media platforms. And I'm telling you that is the easiest and quickest way to start your healing process. And with my most recent breakup, I did not take my own advice. After we had broken up, for about a month, we were still communicating and even still meeting up with each other and seeing each other. And that was possibly the worst thing that I could have done for my health. It just prolonged my healing journey. And it also just made me question everything. Well, maybe we can work it out. Maybe this is the person for me. And honestly, no. If I would have just cut communication off from the beginning, I know for a fact that my mental health would not have suffered the way it did, and I know that my healing process would have gone much smoother and much quicker. And with that, I also had to delete or archive any pictures, videos, any type of memory I had with this person. My room went through a complete makeover. I needed to literally detach myself from any memories that this person had brought into my life. And to me, one of the hardest things of a breakup is remembering all the good times that you had with this person. And it's totally normal to do this. You just got out of a relationship where you spent majority of your time with this one person. You guys did everything together. You guys went everywhere together. But the same attention that you give those good memories, I need you to give the bad memories attention too. You need to be remembering the bad things about the relationship as well. And you need to be remembering why you guys are going through this breakup. Yes, I know, they bought you flowers. They took you out on a date. They gave you a present for your birthday. I understand that. But they lied to you, they manipulated you, they cheated on you. Whatever it is, they still did this. Whenever I would think about the good things or the good times I spent with this person, I would automatically flip my brain to thinking about all the bad things they did to me, just so that those bad times outweighed the good times. And I do understand that everyone's situation is different. I know that there are some people going through a breakup where they just know in their heart that this person has served its purpose in their life. And there are also other situations where the two people mutually agree that they just have some things to work on, but they both love each other and they both want to get back together. I understand those are two completely different situations, but in both cases, I need you to not wait for anyone. Live your life, create new memories, start new hobbies, do things that you've always wanted to do, because what is meant to be will come to you. You will not have to force what is for you. The next tip I have for you guys is to surround yourself with the right people. The people that you surround yourself with is going to make a key difference in how you handle your breakup. So in the same way that it is important not to isolate yourself, it's also important to realize who you're surrounding yourself with and how they're influencing you. So whether it's friends, family, a counselor, anybody that you know you can trust and who is going to have your best interests at heart, that's who you want to surround yourself with. So in my most recent breakup, I made sure to communicate with my best friends at school and also back at home what was going on. They were the outlet that I went to. But at that time, when I was going through this breakup, I didn't really want to communicate with my family. And those were just for two different reasons. One being I had already explained it so many times to my friends. And I don't know if anybody else is like this, but when I explain the same thing over and over again, especially if it's something negative that's happened to me, it makes the situation worse. So I just didn't want to keep talking about it. And the second reason being was that I had this idea in my head that if I told my family the truth, that they would not like this person anymore, that they would completely hate them. And at that time, I still had so much love for this person that if I knew my family felt that way towards him, it would just destroy me. And I did decide to go to therapy. At that point in my life, not only was the breakup messing with my head, but there was also other family issues going on, stuff related to school. So at that time, I just felt like I needed somebody to vent to that was trustworthy and that had a lot of wisdom that they could pour into me. So therapy itself, I don't want to go into too much detail because that can be a completely different episode. But a lot of people think that you need to go to therapy when something's wrong with you, and that is not the case at all. Therapy is a place where you can allow yourself to grow, and it also helped me realize that my emotions were valid. And when we discussed the breakup and discussed my past relationship, it also made me realize a lot of red flags that I did not realize in the relationship because I was so blinded by loving this person. So again, you want to surround yourself with people who are going to help you make the right choices in your healing journey, not people who are going to encourage drugs, smoking, alcohol, jumping into bed with the next person. That's not going to help you whatsoever. So I was very grateful to have my best friends with me. They were there when I needed somebody to vent to, somebody to cry with, and they were also there when I had the temptations and the urges to go back to my ex. So what was really important for me to realize was that you cannot go back to what broke you while it is still broken. So this is very similar to you driving from point A to point B, but realizing that there is a road that's under construction. So what are you going to do? Obviously, you're going to take a different route that will still get you to your destination. But now let's say a few weeks go by, or if you're from Allentown and you are aware with our terrible road situation, a few years go by and this road is up and running again, you're able to use it. So once that road is clear to use, what are you going to do? You're going to take that road. So that's what I mean when I say don't go back to what broke you while it is still broken. In order to get a healthy relationship, you need two healthy people, two equally yoked people to come together. So until that road is fixed, you're going to take a different route. But now let's just say that this new route that you took ended up being quicker than your normal route. Or let's just say as you're on this new route, you found a restaurant that you always wanted to try but just didn't know where it was. Or maybe it's a more scenic route. This just goes to show that everything works out for a reason. You found this new route while the other road was under construction, so maybe now this is where you're meant to be. You're not meant to go back to that old route. So in that same way, we can relate it to relationships. Although maybe time has passed, a couple months, a couple years, and you guys are both healed, maybe you guys just still aren't a right fit, and that is okay. Another tip I have is to reflect on your role in the relationship. And this is something that therapy has really helped me out with and to see within myself. So if you're looking to get into another relationship in the future, it is important to grow as a person. So you're going to need to reflect on what you did wrong because trust me, nobody is perfect. Although you may have ended the relationship because of what the other person did to you, you still played a role in that relationship and you still had flaws. You still brought in negativity. So it is really important to reflect on what you did and how you can improve. And also from here on out, you need to start setting boundaries and standards for yourself and also what you want your future relationships to look like. Another thing that helped me in my breakup was to grow in my faith. So like I said before, in my first relationship, although I knew God and was trying to build that relationship, it was not very strong. Whereas in my second relationship, I was building my relationship with God constantly. So I already had a firm foundation to fall back on if the worst happened, and I guess the worst did happen. So now looking back, Psalms 91 has prepared me for that breakup. I was always reading Psalms 91. I was always journaling about it. And one verse that always stood out to me was, "This I declare about the Lord. He alone is my refuge, my place of safety." I would constantly journal, and write affirmations, and the one affirmation I always stuck to, even when I was still in that relationship, was he alone is my refuge, emphasizing the alone. That means when you have nothing, when you feel like you have nobody by your side, he alone is enough, and he alone is your refuge. So when that breakup happened, I would look back at all the times I journaled, he alone is my refuge, and I would say to myself, Nevaeh, this is what you prepared for. It's still true now. You are alone. You don't really have anybody by your side right now. You don't have that main person that you always wanted by your side, but just still remember, he alone is your refuge. And always remember that God has someone so much better for you. When a relationship ends, it's because that's not what God had intended for your life and for your future. So that was something that always uplifted me, because in my relationship, I'd always think like, oh my God, I feel so good with this person. This is my person. He brings out a good side in me. And now I just think like, if that wasn't my person, now imagine who God has for me now. Imagine how much better that relationship is going to be, how much more fulfilling it's going to be. All right, now for my last and final tip for you guys on how to deal with a breakup. I don't want to say that this is the most important tip, but this was definitely a tip that I had to figure out on my own and learn on my own. Everyone always says that healing takes time, that with time, everything's going to be okay. But no one really tells you that you may never heal completely. You may get into another relationship that is the relationship for you years down the road, and you are still not healed from that. And this is because there is no limit on how long or how short healing is. You need to get through every stage in order to properly heal, and healing is not going to be linear. I can tell you guys that from experience. I've been single now for about 5 months, and there are still days where I cry myself to sleep because of the pain that it feels to have known that I have gone through what I have gone through in that relationship and in that breakup. There are days where I still cannot get out of bed, and I'm telling you that that is okay. Just like how in the beginning of your breakup where you needed to give yourself those days to just weep or give yourself those times to binge eat and binge watch, you can still do that now. There's never a point where that has to end, but every day I'm telling you, it is going to get easier. You're going to be able to wake up in the morning. Every day you may think about them, but as time goes on, you think about them less. There are days where I wake up and I don't remember who I've dated. I'm just worried about my future. I'm worried about how can I grow? How can I heal from it? There are days where I feel completely fine and I can think about the relationship and I can think about the breakup and I don't feel sad at all. I feel at peace with what has happened. So just remember that nothing is going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to heal, but I want you guys to be able to deal with it in the most healthiest way possible. And these tips have really helped me deal with my most recent breakup a lot better than my first breakup. And I also want you guys to remember that you have the power to walk away. If something isn't benefiting you anymore, if something isn't fulfilling your needs, you have the power to walk away. Something can only destroy you or hurt you if you let it. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know that this is a very popular topic that people love to get advice on, so I hope you guys are able to take away some key details from this. If you ever want to reach out, need some more advice, my Instagram is nevaeh.galan. I love hearing from you guys, and that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next episode.